Hi, I'm Josh. This is JP Designs, and today we're going to add a fence and some dust collection to this DIY router table. Now, let me just pause here and say thank you. Thank you for watching. As I'm trying to grow my business, my social media, and my YouTube channel, I'm realizing just how important these views and subscriptions are. So if you appreciate this content and you would like to see more of it, I would appreciate you just clicking that subscribe button, send a comment and hit that like. I'd love to grow a community around this channel, and let's get on with the video. So in my last video, I added this router table to my table saw, save a little bit of space and hopefully be able to use it more often. But you can see there's no dust collection whatsoever. And then I need a fence if I'm gonna make some straight cuts for bits that don't have a bearing on it. To do that, we're gonna use the fence on this table saw and attach another fence to it. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
So last time we put this router table into the wing of the table saw. The idea is to build a 3-sided box with 90-degree brackets to keep that fence up and down. Now when we attach it to the fence of the table saw, it allows us to move it in and out a lot easier. I found this piece of scrap plywood that we're going to use. So we're going to measure it out, mark it up, and cut it. Now you'll notice throughout this video that I have to kind of catch the boards as they come off the table saw. It's not exactly the safest thing, but I don't have an outfeed table. That is going to be a project for the future. Now since I know the table saw is sturdy and flat, I'm using this to line up and to hold my pieces for pocket holes. Now for these pocket holes, this is the vertical piece that will connect directly to the fence. So it doesn't need to be fancy, it just needs to be perpendicular.
It's a square!
Now I have this T-track on the fence, but I don't have any bolts, so I had to make my own. I had a piece of 5/16 threaded rod and a couple of nuts, so I put it on here and smashed the end of it to lock it in place. And then I had to grind those edges just a little bit right there so it would actually fit in, because it's a little bit too thick. And let me show you what I'm talking about. It barely fits in right like that. Do is I'm going to need to make a knob to fit this bolt. I have a nut here, but I don't want to just tighten that, so I'm going to use this piece of scrap wood. I'm going to drill a hole in here and inset that. Easiest way to do it is you can get a Forstner bit. This is a 1/2 inch. That'll fit pretty nicely, but not cover everything. So you drill a countersink with this, drill a through hole with the 5/16, and then you'll just pound this in and cut it out.
Now to make sure these nuts are perpendicular and not crooked, I went ahead and screwed in the bolt just to get it kind of lined up before I hammered it in. Here I'm just kind of drawing out something that I think will be comfortable, something that'll work a little bit. It's far from perfect, but it's something to give it a little bit more grip. actual fence board. It's already pretty square, but we're gonna create some brackets anyway.
Now, unfortunately, my camera died on me. So what you didn't see is I cut these angled brackets. It's basically just plywood with a 45-degree and 90-degree angles on them. 4 of those to keep that fence straight. This is the vertical piece. So you can see I put a radius on it with some lines to kind of connect it. Then I'm gonna cut out a notch. These lines here are for where I'm gonna attach those brackets. And then on the base, I also have matching lines for here. Now this shaded area I'm gonna carve out because this is where the dust collection comes in. So I found the center here. What I'm gonna do is put one of these braces on each end, and then I wanna put 1 or 2 here in the middle with just enough room to add a hose right here.
I just got a Forstner bit that was close to the right size, not exactly, and went to town. Those lines are just gonna be guidelines, not exact. And because of the size of my bandsaw, it can only cut one of these sides perfectly straight. This second side is a little bit curved. So on this fence piece, I didn't want the curve. So I started it, flipped it over, and finished the cut from there. Now it's time to carve. I thought that by using a Forstner bit or a drill, it would hog out most of the material and I could get it going that way. That was a mistake.
Well, it's not pretty and it may not even be functional, but there you have it. As you can see, I tried to get my drill at it. I don't really have any carving tools, and in the panic of filming and trying to do all of this on the fly in my mind, that's the best I came up with. The Forstner bit kind of came out, messed up the wood here, nothing a little sandpaper won't fix, and it's just a shop jig, so I'm not too concerned about it. The idea is that this scoop is gonna help with the dust collection, aerodynamics, that it will, instead of stopping the sawdust, it'll help lift it up into the dust collector. We'll see if it actually works, but that's the idea. Now, I've talked before about how useful melamine is in the shop. It also makes a great flat surface, so that's what I'm gonna use it for to get this thing together.
Now I'm drilling and countersinking all of the screws here. I want it to be flat with nothing sticking out to stop the workpiece. Just have to make sure that this board is completely perpendicular and stays nice and straight. Now for the dust port. It's nothing fancy, I just need to enclose this little gap here, so I'm using a piece of scrap. I'm cutting this at 45 so I can get as much flush to that surface as possible. And I didn't put this on camera, but I went ahead and marked out where I was going to drill to hog out most of this material. There are a few ways to do this. My jigsaw is up in a box, so it's not exactly handy, so I choose to go with the router this time. And once the routing is done, to get the shape pretty close, I got a rasp and some sandpaper to kind of fine tune it in order to get a tight fit with that hose.
Well, made a mistake. So when I was cutting this out, I didn't measure, I was measuring from this tip to this tip. I didn't measure from the same side. So now I'm sitting at about 1/2 inch short. So I'm still gonna have this here on the bottom. I'll move it so you can see it. And then I'm gonna take this offcut and just kind of glue it to the top. I'll trim it up here, just probably on the bandsaw to make it easier. And then just glue it on top and cut it off and smooth it out. So hopefully that'll work out. Let's give it a shot.
Now, admittedly, I was being pretty lazy, so there's no seal in between these boards. I just screwed them in to secure them, and then I was initially gonna get a piece of wood to cover the top, but I figured duct tape will do the trick. Now let's test this thing out.
Well, this build was definitely a win for me. It's gonna allow me to use this router a lot more often, and this dust collection is gonna be great for my shop and for my lungs. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and you found some good helpful tips in it. I hope that you use some of it in your own shops. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and we'll see you next time.